Welcome to the Avenue's special monthly broadcast of August Haven Live. I'm Steve March Torme, and yes, I'm live. And this is our monthly show dedicated to taking a deeper dive into an independent artist and their music. August Haven's mission for this programming is to support artists in our community and to create an atmosphere where the community can gather to enjoy friends and music and all the finer things in life as curated by August Haven. Right now, we're doing that through the radio, but we look forward to the time when we'll be together again at August Haven for this programming. I'm looking forward to that. Keep it tuned right here. We're going to be with you till 7 p.m. with lots of music and interviews. It's all made possible by August Haven. So we're kicking off another year of August Haven Live with our friend Marc Golde, producer and owner of Appleton's Rock Garden Studios. Marc is typically the man behind the scenes bringing other musicians' work to life. What you may not know is that he is an accomplished musician and songwriter himself. I know that because he tells me that every time I see him. He goes, Steve, I'm an accomplished musician and songwriter. And 2020 gave him the time to work on some of his own projects. Welcome back to the Avenue, young man.
Hello, Steve. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being had.
Yeah.
For those who may not know you, let's start with Rock Garden Studios.
Yeah.
Give us a quick history, a little overview of Rock Garden and your work at the studio.
Sure. Rock Gardens, the concept has been around for about 20 years now, 18 years. Started in 2002.
It do fly, don't it?
Yeah, the time does fly, yeah. And started very small, just renting some space at a friend's place, and had an 8-track recorder and a little mixer, and kind of grew from there. And this is the third location I've been in, and I've branched into video and TV ads, music videos, concept videos, corporate videos, along with all the music stuff. And we did a TV show here for a while and all sorts of neat stuff.
Now, when you say you had a little mixer, do you mean literally the machine or a little guy that was helping?
A little guy that would help me, yes.
And he's no longer here, is he?
No,
I didn't
he
think
passed
so.
away, unfortunately.
Well, I happen to know from personal experience that you've produced many of the local and regional artists that we play on the Avenue. So can you list a few of those?
I can. So what I'll do is I'll list the Avenue type artists because I work with all types
those
of
who
music.
dress well.
Right,
Yes.
right, exactly.
Okay.
Because I do death metal and all sorts of stuff too, you know. So
We're moving towards that maybe next year.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, where the tide changes. So some of the Avenue artists are Kurt Gunn, Listening Party, Memphis Star, Billy Bronstead, Tom Thiel, a guy with a famous dad who was a jazz singer, Steve March Torme.
That would be, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I was going to say Sabini.
Yeah, but, yes, I've recorded you many times also.
Yes, much to your chagrin.
So
Yes.
no, we should probably count the local artists that I haven't recorded.
That's true.
That would be easier.
That's a shorter list.
Yeah, well, I've been around a long time, so eventually everybody pretty much comes through the studio.
Well, you know, I've been promoting this particular show, and during the promotion, I've been saying, you know, he knows everybody in town and vice versa. I say, Mark knows where the bodies are buried. So there's many stories.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when COVID caused things to slow down or stop, you obviously found a way to use that free time. So what did you do?
Well, here's the thing that no one really knew about me was that Rock Garden Studio as a concept was supposed to be my own private studio, like Prince had.
Mm-hmm. But I don't see a basketball net, but that being said.
Right, close. I've got some bathroom displays. But
Yes, you do.
We'll explain that later. But a private studio that paid for itself by recording other people. And then you wake up 2 decades later and you haven't recorded anything for yourself. And you find yourself being a businessman. You know, not that I haven't enjoyed this and I love making records with people, but the original concept is this is supposed to be my place. And I haven't recorded anything. So when the lockdown happened, that was the perfect opportunity. I have no choice to work right now. So I'm like, for the first time, I have this amazing studio for myself to do whatever I want.
And this is not the original location.
No.
Rock
This is
Garden.
the third location. Yeah.
And where were you before? Because I know you and I worked at the other one.
The last one was on Walter Avenue on the way to Tallulah Park, the tiny little thing in a parking lot. Before then was on the top of the Law Street Hill, which I think is a realtor or something now.
Well, for those people who have not been in this studio, and I've been here obviously a number of times, it's a huge space. It's an absolutely great space. People love recording here. They love doing video here, and it's one of the favorite places for musicians in this area. Now, this is a little bit off script, but I'm sure you've heard this a few times before. When people meet you, And it's not an exact resemblance, but have you been told by people that you look a lot like the late Tom Petty? So you have heard that.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are speaking with Marc Golde. I'm Steve March Torme. This is August Haven Live on 91.1 The Avenue. We're going to be here until 7 p.m. with more interviews and music, including a performance set from Marc in our 5 o'clock hour. You better be ready, young man.
I will.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more in our next break. August Haven is a supporting partner of The Avenue. Let's take a listen to something from Marc Golde right now. So tell us what we're about to hear.
Well, this is the first song that I released during the COVID thing. What's interesting is I had a bunch of unfinished material, and I'm like, okay,
Don't we all?
Yes. Like, okay, what should I finish? And I'm kind of beyond this song. It's a "Oh Woe Is Me, She Hurt Me" song, and that was
There's a new concept.
yeah, that was me in my 20s trying to be edgy.
That was me 5 weeks
Yeah.
ago. I'm way past that now.
I wanted to be an angsty artist, and I had no material, but I got dumped a couple times. And trust me, I would have dumped me. I was impossible, but I knew it was a good song, and I knew people would like it. And I was really trying to be first to market with a video, because I knew a lot of people would be doing the kind of Skype videos and that sort of thing. And I wanted to do something really nice, and so I got to work on that one first, and I really love the tune.
And what is this called?
This is called "She Doesn't Know."
Here's Marc Golde.
Hey, it's you. Nice to see you again. Boy, it's been a while. You sure look great, so how you been? Oh, how the time flies. Hold me or no, I'm just doing my thing. Nothing much to say. I'm at the same place and doing that thing. It'll all work out someday. She doesn't know I still love her. She doesn't know I lost my mind. I'll never look at another with stars in my eyes. I remember that thing we did. How could I forget? We looked so silly, we laughed for days. No regret. I see you still with what's his name. I heard you moving in. I wish the best, I should have guessed. As the room begins to expand, she doesn't know I still love her. She doesn't know I lost my mind. I'll never look at another with stars in my eyes. Head in the sky.
Welcome back to the Avenue's special monthly broadcast of August Haven Live. I am SMT. Today I'm joined by producer and musician Marc Golde.
Hello.
Hello. So in recent years, you've been primarily known as a producer. That's how I met you. But you have a rather long musical history behind you, including as a performer. So please give us a little background on your musical career.
Well, should I go all the way back?
No, that was enough. Right. Now our next question, as far as you want.
I started in music really, really early. My parents wanted to give me an unfair advantage in life, so I started piano lessons when I was 5. And the piano teacher was like, I can't teach him at 5. He can't reach the pedals or spell his name. And my mom, who was very pushy, and she was kind of like, I'll teach him how to spell, you teach him how to play the piano. So I had my first gig with my own band when I was 9 years old. I also got a reel-to-reel tape recorder that year. By the time I was 16, I quit high school to go on the road with my band.
You're like the local Mel Torme.
Yeah. By the time I became of age, I was already an old veteran. So, and
stopped smoking by then, and
exactly, and
started going to bed earlier hours.
Yeah. So,
well, you've had a background with somebody you mentioned earlier, Tom Thiel.
Yeah.
What is your history with him musically?
Well, Tom and I were friends almost in our late teens or so. It was just something I really liked about the guy, and
he's a likable guy.
He's a very likable guy, and we put together a spoof band. There was this bar in Menasha called My Place. It was a beer bar, and it was the scummiest place you could ever walk into, but it was relaxing for young rock and roll guys, you know. And Marshall was the name of the owner, and he would pay anybody $50 to play any night of the week. So we're like, hey, you know.
Hey, that's better than a lot of the places in L.A.
Where you got to pay. Yeah, exactly. So we put together this spoof band of just dumb covers, whatever came off the top of our heads. It was Tom Thiel, myself, and Scott Schrader on drums. And Tom and I would switch off bass and guitar and crack jokes in between. And as a jokingly named, we called ourselves the Electric Bananas. That's from the movie This Is Spinal Tap. And if, Tom, you're listening, it was my idea, not yours. Just for the record. And then it became serious. We turned into a real band and recorded a record. And it was the very first local compact disc released in Wisconsin. My first record I ever produced. I did it out of my house. And I brought it with me today. I have a song.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you very rarely perform in public, and we were fortunate to have you on stage for one of our Avenue concerts recently. It was about a year ago.
Yeah.
Playing piano as part of Kurt Gunn and the Poor Town Proper. I believe I introduced you guys. Yeah. So talk about that project a little bit.
Yeah, that was kind of neat. Kurt tries to do something a little different with each record. Sometimes he lets me just overproduce it and go nuts. Other times we scale it down. It's just him and a guitar. With that one, he picked a certain group of players, which was Luke Heckel on drums.
Good players, too. That was a really nice band.
Yeah. Chris Hanaway on bass, Woody Larson on guitar, and myself to fill in whatever gaps there were. And it was more the creative ideas of those players than anything, where like his last big production record was basically me in the studio being a mad scientist. And then, you know, so I don't know what the next one's going to be. Well, he had a Girl in the Gun record in between there too. So
Amanda James and Kurt.
So, but that's what that was.
So Chris Henway played.
Yep.
And you do know what's a Henway?
Hanaway.
Henway. Oh.
Yeah.
You're supposed to say, I don't know what's a Henway.
I don't know how much.
About 3 or 4 pounds. So anyway, we're going to take a break right now. We're going to listen to a song. Why don't you introduce the song, Marc?
Okay. This is from the Electric Bananas.
Of course.
The music's a little more serious than the name, but this is the opening.
Not a lot, a little bit.
This is the opening track to our compact disc named Open Sesame, and it's called Summer Night.
Here are the Electric Bananas.
Victim taking chances, lets his walls come down. The learning of romances follows him around. The way what she was feeling. Something changed her mind. She left without an answer. Happens every time. She don't touch him like a woman, don't treat him like a man. Could see that she's a change, and where's that leave him in the end? All the times of talking, he's wasting his breath. When it came to walking, the night he won't forget. What happened on that summer night? Why did it feel so right again? He knows he shouldn't let her in. It's happened many times before to him. She's branded him the loser. With her he'll never win. His thoughts have turned to anger. He won't trust again. She don't touch him like a woman, don't treat him like a man. Can see that she ain't changing. Where's that leave him in the end? She led the horse to water. He should have turned away. As she's getting older, she'll think of him someday. What happened on that summer night? Why did it feel so right again? He knows he shouldn't let her in. It's happened many times before to him. On that summer sits here reflecting on his life. He can't waste another day with her. To her it's nothing but a whim. She can't wreck another day for him. Sits here reflecting on his life. He can't waste another day with her. To her it's nothing but a whim. She can't wreck another day for him. What happened on that summer night? Why did it feel so right again? He knows he shouldn't let her in. It's happened many times before to him. What happened on that summer night? Why did it feel so right again? He knows he shouldn't let her in. It's happened many times before to him. What happened on that summer night? What happened on that summer night? What happened on that summer night? What happened on that summer night?
This is Steve March Torme. You are listening to 91.1 The Avenue's special broadcast, August Haven Live. And one of these days, we will be actually live again. Looking forward to getting back there. We're back with Marc Golde. In the last break, we talked about your background, your musical background. So let's talk about the music that you created during the lockdown last winter, because I know that a lot of musicians simply had time on their hands and said, you know what, I should buckle down and get something done. What did you do?
I got to work immediately. It was like I have all this material and all these excuses for not making music, and all the excuses went away and all the work remained. So originally I was going to do a whole CD, but that wasn't realistic, being that I'm playing all the instruments myself. and I play drums maybe once every 5 years, so it takes me 3 days to finish a part. So it's, like in the video that I released for She Doesn't Know whatever song that was, it looks like I'm effortlessly walking from instrument to instrument, but that's really not the case. It takes a lot of time.
Well, I've heard, not all of your music, obviously, but I've heard a lot of the cuts that you put out. Who would you say are your biggest musical influences? I mean, give me 4 or 5 artists that you really, listen to.
Obviously,
should we go with the obvious one
the
first?
The Beatles first, yeah. Pink Floyd. But I was a metalhead back in high school, so I love Ozzy Osbourne and Iron Maiden and all that stuff too. As long as it's melodic and interesting. I don't care what genre it is, whether it's jazz or anything. So. All that 70s classic rock, I just love that. And the 90s were pretty cool, too. I love the production of the 90s.
No, I was just going to say, if you were a metalhead, I've heard some of your stuff. I think you're more poppy than you admit to. You like hooks and you like good pop music, and you wrote some really cool stuff that, you released recently that we've been playing on the Avenue.
But it's got to have a ripping guitar solo.
Thank you. Must.
You got to.
That's the voice of Marc Golde. I'm Steve March Torme. You're listening to 91.1 The Avenue. Stick around. There's more August Haven Live with Marc Golde coming up, including a performance set at 5 p.m. August Haven is a supporting partner of The Avenue. Let's take a listen to something from Kurt Gunn and the Poor Town Proper.
Been spitting here like a drinking drunken fool. Cut off, thrown away like some frayed ends off the spool. I keep treading water, I'm just trying to play cool. Pretend not struggling in the deep end of the pool. When I wake up, first thing you are is on my mind. When I go down hard here every night. Pretty baby don't want me half as much as she did one time. The same. Spend your whole life searching, come out the way you came. And all you needed was a mirror
Good afternoon and welcome to the Avenue's special monthly broadcast of August Haven Live, the virtual edition. So if you're just joining us, you might know that this is the time of the month that we would normally be gathered at August Haven to enjoy some live music and August Haven's famous hospitality. We always have a rip-roaring time. Well, we can't do that just yet, but we're still able to gather around the radio for a visit with some very talented musicians, thanks to our friends at August Haven. And joining us today, of course, Marc Golde. So tell us, what are we going to hear here?
Well, I'm sitting here in my fabulous studio, surrounded by many classic instruments, and I plan on using as many as I can.
Now, can you play some of them all at the same time? That would be impressive.
Sometimes I might tap a toe while I'm playing a guitar or something. But so there's that, and I'm going to do a couple covers, a couple originals, just some of my favorite covers, and try to play as many instruments as I can here.
Looking forward to it. All right, take it away.
So being that I'm going to be playing all these exotic vintage instruments, if you go to my personal Facebook page or 91.1 The Avenue's Facebook page, we'll be posting pictures right now of the instruments that I'm going to be playing, so you can play along at home. Okay, I'm going to start with a cover. I got to see Billy Joel a couple years ago at Lambeau Field, and until that night, I had forgotten how much I loved his music growing up. It's always been around, but I kind of rediscovered it, and all those late 70s songs have been kind of running around in my head ever since. So I'm going to do one of those tunes, but I'm going to do something a little unusual that you don't hear every day. Most people accompany themselves with an acoustic guitar or a keyboard, piano, ukulele, something like that. I'm going to use a old Les Paul through a vintage Marshall stack, just like Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin or Jimi Hendrix would do. And let's have some fun with this. This is called Big Shot.
Well, you went uptown riding in your limousine in your fine Park Avenue clothes. You had a Dom Perignon in your hand and a spoon up your nose. Well, when you wake up in the morning with your head on fire and your eyes too bloody to see, gonna cry in your coffee, but don't come bitching to me. Because you had to be a big shot, didn't ya? Had to open up your mouth. You had to be a big shot, didn't ya? All your friends were so knocked out. You had to have the last word last night. Know what everything's about. You had to have the white hot spotlight. You had to be a big shot last night. Whoa. Hey! Yeah, they were all impressed with your Halston dress and the people that you knew in their lanes. And the story of your latest success kept them so entertained. Well, you just don't remember all the things you said, and you're not sure that you want to know. I'll give you one hit, honey, you sure did put on a show. Yes, you had to be a big shot, didn't ya? Had to prove it to the crowd. You had to be a big shot, didn't ya? All your friends were so knocked out. You had to have the last word last night. So much fun to be around. You had to have the front page bold tight. You had to be a big shot last night. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Well, it's no big sin to stick your 2 cents in when you know when to leave it alone. But you went over the line, you couldn't see it was time to go home. No, had to be a big shot, didn't ya? Had to open up your mouth. You had to be a big shot, didn't ya? All all your friends were so knocked out. You had to have the last word last night. Know what everything's about. You had to have the white hot spotlight. You had to be a big shot last night. Whoa, 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 big shot. Woo, there she goes. Big shot. Big shot. Woo! There. Billy Joel. All right, now I'm going to switch gears and actually put on an acoustic guitar here. And got a song by the band Radiohead. They had a record that I really, really liked called OK Computer. And it was this is one of those tunes that just got me in a certain way when you're in a certain mood. It reminds me of when you're irritated with the world. And there's a line where the singer's absolutely irritated with this girl's hairdo. And, I think we've all felt that way. So here's a song about that. I'm going to tack on something at the end, kind of a little guitar ditty that I wanted to share with everybody. So this is called Karma Police. Come on, police, arrest this man. He talks in Matsy, buzzes like a fridge. He's like a detune radio. Come on, police, arrest this girl. Her Hitler hairdo is making me feel ill, and we have crashed a party. This is what you get. This is what you get. This is what you get when you mess with us. Come on, police, I've given all I can. It's not enough. I've given all I can, but I'm still on the payroll. This is what you get. This is what you get. This is what you get when you mess with us. For a minute there, I asked myself, for a minute there, I asked myself, become a police. I've given all I can.
There, the irritable Radiohead. Okay, now I'm going to do an original. This one I'm going to accompany myself with a Wurlitzer electric piano. And these things are cool. You've heard them many times in pop music. I'll play you a couple intros. That's one of those magical musical figures that every time you play it, someone in the room sings. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. So kind of like playing the opening chord to A Hard Day's Night. People always sing afterwards. How about this one? Or... or this Queen classic. So that's the Wurlitzer. We've all heard that before. They're cute little things that do that thing. That's what they do. So I'm going to do this original called Paisley Bus, inspired by Deadheads. Right around the time that Jerry Garcia passed away, I was feeling sorry for all the Deadheads. They had spent their entire adult lives following the Dead and not building equity in anything or careers or saving money. And then all of a sudden their guy dies, and what do? So little did I know that Fish would come along and give them purpose again. But I was thinking about them, so I wrote this song. It's called Paisley Bus.
This road has been our home since 1969, when love was free and gas was just a dime. We're nomads of the psycho age with nothing more to do than ride around in this crazy bus, get stoned and screw. Paisley bus. I've got the time. What's on my mind? In the back of my bus, our apple stand in Cleveland, a bushel for a lid. Selling toast in Birmingham, we dropped some killer Sid. I need to do my laundry and I need to wash my hair, but all I have is 50 cents and a black light poster, a chair. I've got no cash, so I think I'll crash in the back of my Paisley bus. I've got the time, but I've lost my mind in the back of my bus. Stash in the back of my Paisley bus. I've got the time to blow your mind in the back of my Paisley bus. I've got the time to make you mine in the back of my Paisley bus. Cash, so I think we'll crash in the back of my Paisley bus. Tires for the Deadheads. I'm going to switch over to guitar again here, and this next one is kind of like speaking to someone in hindsight of if you could go back and tell a child, the first time they got their heart broken, that things will get better, and this will be small beans someday, but you can't really say that right now because it's very big beans right now. But this is kind of like that, kind of consoling a friend and letting them know that eventually at some point things will get better. This is called This Too Shall Pass. It seems real bad right now. That's because it is. It could get worse before it gets better. But one thing I know, you'll swing from trees, you'll sail the seas. You won't stay this slow. So hang on, 'cause this too shall pass. It's not the years of your life, it's the life in your years. If you stare at the end of your rope, you'll slide from your tears. No one can hurt you without your permission. So strap on, 'cause this too shall pass. it's really hard to see and hard to say. The kind of numb you feel right now will not stay. You climb the highest mountains and fall flat on your face. But get ready, 'cause this too shall pass. Strap on, 'cause this too shall pass. Hang on, 'cause this too shall pass.
All right. So this next one is kind of like, you know how it's great when people after divorce can remain friends, best friends, or after a breakup and that sort of thing. And I don't think that always works. Sometimes it's terrible, and you try to make that work, and it's, you know, there was a reason why you broke up in the first place, and you should just go your separate ways and move on. So that's what this next one's for. It's called For Good or Bad.
I've noticed I've been acting strange. It's good to know nothing is changed. Just like you, this scares me too. I know it's all in my head. For good or bad, you take me back. I want you to smile forever. I want more than that to let go. For good or bad, you take me back. A fool just repeats old actions. It's time to grow up and move on. For good or bad, you take me back. Back to where I don't belong in the first place. Just like you, this scares me too. I know it's all in my head. For good or bad, you take me back.
There, I hope that wasn't too depressing. Okay, so for this last song, I'm going to pull out another unusual instrument called a Leslie speaker. You might recognize those in blues bands. It's that big wooden box with spinning things inside of it that no one knows what it is. I've joked with people that telling them it's an air freshener for the singers or whatever, but it's kind of like spinning speakers. Speakers aren't actually spinning. There's little things that spin that make the sound swirl around, but they're typically made for organ, but you can plug a guitar into them too, and they sound like this. And you can change the speed also and make it fast. You can see how this is a real inspiring sound here. And if you crank it up too loud, it sounds fuzzy like this. One of the more famous Leslie guitar songs out there is by one of my favorite old classic power pop bands, Badfinger. And this is one of their tunes called No Matter What.
what you are. I will always be with you. Doesn't matter what you do, girl. Ooh, girl, want you. No matter where you go, I will always be around. Won't you show me what you found, girl? Ooh, girl, want you. Knock down the old gray wall. Be a part of it all. Nothing to say, nothing to see, nothing to do. If you would give me all, 'cause I would give it to you. Nothing would be, nothing would be, nothing would be. No matter where you go, there will always be a place. Can't you see it in my face, girl? Ooh, girl, won't you? Knock down the old gray wall. Be a part of it all. Nothing to say, nothing to see, nothing to do. If you would give me all, 'cause I would give it to you. Nothing would be, nothing would be, nothing would be. No matter what you are, I will always be with you. Doesn't matter what you do, girl. Ooh, girl, won't you? Ooh, girl, you, girl, won't you? Ooh, girl, you, girl, won't you?
Welcome back to the Avenue's special monthly broadcast of August Haven Live. I'm Steve March Torme, and right now I'm joined by our friend Jim Green from August Haven, the man behind the concept for this monthly broadcast. Jim, as a business, August Haven has a solid commitment to supporting independent artists, arts, and culture. Tell us how that ties to August Haven and why you feel that elevating the arts is important.
At August Haven, our goal is to have your home reflect your creative interests, and supporting creative pursuits is a big part of our brand. And I guess that's a reflection of my personality and my background and what kind of excites me about life. I'm passionate about creative pursuits, and for me specifically, it's music and design that really trip my trigger. But for other people, it's fine art or cuisine or travel. Whatever it is an individual thing, but I really think creative pursuits are the spice that make life worth living. And at August Haven, for us, it's important to support that. And with what's happening right now, there's never a better time to support it, because creative pursuits are really having challenging times with COVID.
As a musician yourself, tell us about your background, how music and the arts has played a role in your life.
Well, my love of music started when I was really young, but I didn't really start pursuing being a performer or playing an instrument until I was a little bit older. So when I was in college, I started playing guitar when I was 19. I had a roommate who was playing and kind of rekindled my interest in wanting to pursue it, and started playing and continued to play guitar through my adulthood. I guess when I was working early in my professional years, it took a back seat. And then during the Great Recession, I kind of recommitted myself to it. Did a lot of reflecting. It was a hard time for business, and did a lot of reflecting and decided I didn't want to not pursue my interest as a musician, that I wanted to become a better guitar player. So I've spent time doing that now, and I'm in a band, and my love for it has done nothing but grow, and it's really been a big part of my life, and it's really enriched my life. So when we launched August Haven in 2011, I wanted to do something that kind of reflected my love of creative interests, and that's reflected in our brand.
From an artist's perspective, tell us about how the health crisis has impacted performers and venues.
Well, I guess it could be summed up in one word. It's been devastating. You need an audience to give a live performance, and it involves a lot of human interaction, and that's just not possible with COVID. And I think it's very similar to the restaurant business, but perhaps worse because it's been completely shut down. And so when you look at the independent venues and some of the smaller venues that have supported live music, they're under fire. A lot of them have some kind of food or hospitality component, and they're just shut down for an extended period of time. So anything you can do to support the arts is going to help the recovery when it comes, and there's a lot of great performing artists who are actually relegated to spending time giving guitar lessons, for example, online just to make their mortgage. So it's been tough. It's been really devastating.
As a mission partner this month, August Haven is supporting NIVA. That's N-I-V-A. It's the National Independent Venue Association. Talk to us about why this is so important.
The National Independent Venue Association is an organization that supports and does what they can to support these venues through this crisis. And it's important because if we want authentic, intimate, small venues, and even mid-size and larger venues to continue, they need your help. And if they don't get it, many of them will be gone, similar to restaurants. And when the smaller venues go away, it takes away a lot from the performing arts, and being able to participate and see intimate gatherings with musicians. So anything you can do to support it will make a huge difference in helping more of those venues stick around.
Thanks, Jim. If listeners want to learn more about NIVA and how to support, go to nivassoc.org. That's nivassoc.org. I'm SMT. We are back with Marc Golde for our final hour of this August Haven live broadcast. So let's talk a little bit about some of the music that's come out of Rock Garden Studio. What's happening lately that you're excited about? Is there anything in particular that you are proud of? Anything you're particularly not proud of? Steve, this interview with you, besides that. So give us some insight into what you've been doing.
You know, it's even hard to talk like that because every time I praise someone in the studio, there's somebody over here getting upset with me because I didn't mention them.
Well,
but here's to them. I love everybody. And
pull up your pants,
wonderful.
big boys. It'll be just fine.
Exactly. Well, you know, typically people don't come to me until they're ready anyway. So there's always good music happening. My favorite from last year was a young lady named Emily Holland.
Yeah, you mentioned her to me.
Yeah, probably 5 times.
Yeah.
And I just, every once in a while, someone walks in the studio that is just a superstar, the potential for that. And she's that, and we did a wonderful record and a really neat music video out here in the parking lot, and I'm hoping the best for her. She's just great.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have a question I've not asked you before. I think, have you had a full orchestra in here?
No.
Plans for that maybe one of these days?
That would be nice.
I mean, to get a symphony orchestra in here to record something?
It's been on my mind through the years, definitely.
Because you have the space for it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, it's a symphony orchestra is expensive.
Very expensive.
And it's a lot to organize and all that. And so, I haven't reached out to anybody yet, but one of these days, here's what you don't hear much anymore is orchestra on pop music. You hear Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. That is a full 100-piece orchestra behind them. And a lot of the even disco music had strings behind
absolutely.
it. I think that would be a fun thing to dive into again, is to get that kind of icing on a pop song. I think is pretty cool. You can do all the keyboards you want, but it ain't the same as real
Oh, I
people.
agree. Well, maybe you and I will do something like that at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
That'd be great.
I've got a few hours.
Yeah.
All right. That's the voice of Marc Golde. I'm Steve March Torme. You are listening to August Haven Live on 91.1 The Avenue. Oh, before I go into the next song, are there any projects coming up that we don't know about that you've been contacted for?
I don't talk about that stuff.
I'll talk about that anywhere except here.
Right, exactly.
All right. We'll find out when they come out. All right.
Yeah.
That was Marc Golde. I'm Steve March Torme. You are listening to August Haven Live on 91.1 The Avenue. As you know, August Haven is a supporting partner of The Avenue. So here's a song produced by you, Mr. Golde, right here at Rock Garden Studios. So tell us about this one.
So this is the second song I released on my own, and it's a song called "So It Goes." And
Is this the first one we started playing on The Avenue?
no, you started playing the
Heartbreak,
She Left Me
Dumped Me
song.
thing,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. This one is more of a how I'm feeling this year. Is a 2020 song. And I thought about, all the events and everything that's happening politically and with the pandemic and all that sort of stuff. And it just hit me of like, I don't blame the individual for the disease, and
Understood.
whatever that disease is,
Right, right.
whether it's political or
Right.
socio, whatever. And it's kind of like saying, you and I may disagree wholeheartedly a lot, super duper, but I don't disrespect you as a person. That's basically what the song says.
So what's the name of this song again?
This is called "So It Goes," and I got the title from my favorite science fiction writer, my only science fiction writer, Kurt Vonnegut, where in all of his books, it's kind of his catchphrase, something terrible will happen to someone. A building will fall on someone and squash them. And the next line is, "So it goes."
Slaughterhouse-Five.
Yep.
Let's take a listen.
Where'd you get that bit of information? Where'd you find that nugget? Tell me, please. You pose a beautiful argument, but
You are listening to the Avenue's monthly broadcast of August Haven Live, the virtual edition. I'm SMT. I'm speaking with my friend Marc Golde. You've been a very good friend of the Avenue. That's not a big secret. We appreciate that friendship.
And the Avenue has supported me also.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It is a symbiotic relationship. As we mentioned earlier, you perform shows for the benefit of the station. You've also appeared on our compilation albums, and you and I worked on a project recently, the Avenue's masterclass video on the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper album. So talk about your relationship specifically with that album. And that goes way back, but I'm sure you have very strong feelings about this.
Well, it's strong memories of, I don't know. I know I was less than 10 years old the first time I heard it. I might have been 8 or 9. I was already into records. That was the thing. I was already into the Beatles, too. But when I first heard Sgt. Pepper, it was like Technicolor. You know, I'd been looking in black and white, and then all of a sudden, the world was Technicolor. And
it was the Wizard of Oz start. Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, it's one of those things that you can listen to 100 times in a row and hear something new every time. And just absolutely grabbed me. That was it. I think I probably listened to it on a loop for 3 years straight.
You know, when their albums came out, we all remembered when there'd be a release date, and did you hear about it's coming out? This album called Rubber Soul's coming out, and then you got it, and it was great. And Revolver's next. It was like a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
But when Sgt. Pepper came out, it's like everybody went, "Oh my gosh,
what is this?"
It was so completely different. Now, you and I went through, 5 different songs and kind of analyzed the tracks. What were the biggest surprises for you when you took apart those tracks that you heard?
I guess one of the things...
Don't make fun of their out-of-tune singing.
That's the first thing I was going to say. It's like when they would double track their vocals, if you listen to just one or the other, they weren't good, but the sum was great. And it just baffles me how you can do something super sloppy and then it tightens up when it's layered. That still blows my mind.
Well, we had a lot of fun doing that video together because, you listen to those and the two of us were just grinning like idiots. Like, wow, listen to that again. Just the ding, 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 ding to the guitar parts.
Yeah.
The string parts, there are passages that were written for strings you will never ever hear if you hear the record in its entirety with all the tracks on it. You can't hear them.
Right.
And as soon as you isolate, you go, oh my gosh, that's what he's playing there. And that's what he's actually singing there. That's, to me, what was so interesting about that particular project. By the way, for those of you who are interested in Sgt. Pepper's The Master Class, you can still find that available at avenueradio.com. I think, as we talked about, you don't have to just be a Beatles fan, but if you love music and you want to hear something broken down by somebody yourself who knows what you're talking about, you're such a good producer, you knew what they were doing, and especially for that time, to hear the stuff that George Martin came up with. Well, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's put a harp on it. Well, nobody puts a harp on pop. We're going to put a harp on it. Let's see what it sounds like. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, the thing is, lots of people hit me up. I call them the civilians, the people who don't play instruments. What happens in the studio is a total mystery to them, and it's a foreign language, the way we speak. And everybody says, boy, can I just be a fly on the wall? And I can't allow people in private sessions.
Right.
So this is a chance for them to be in Rock Garden Studio, to hear, sit at the board and work on some tracks and listen to some stuff. It's just a fun behind the scenes kind of thing.
I agree. For people who have never been in a recording studio, just to see, that's how he does that.
Right.
Oh, that's the man behind the curtain. You are listening to 91.1 The Avenue. I'm Steve March Torme. This has been our special broadcast, August Haven Live. And we're back one last time with Marc Golde. We can't finish this interview without talking about the history of the soundboard that you work with at Rock Garden.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when it got here, and you were very excited about it. So give us a quick rundown of that, a little bit of its history, because it's a rather unique soundboard.
Yes. Well, this is a vintage recording console. It's huge. It's 9 feet wide.
It's huge.
Yeah, you need long arms to operate it. But it came from the Indigo Ranch studio in Malibu, California, installed in 1973. The Indigo Ranch the studio was founded by the keyboard player from the Moody Blues, Mike Pinder. When you hear do-do-do-do-do-do on Nights in White Satin, that's him. I guess he got sick of England, got sick of the weather, and said, I'm moving to Malibu, and I'm going to build a home studio. And that's what he did. And
nice plan if you can get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you got Moody Blues money,
Right.
And in fact, on some of the documentation on the board, before they knew what it was going to be, they call it the Moody Blues board. So yeah, it was installed in 1973 as one of those money's no object pieces of equipment. And it was custom designed. It's a one of a kind by a small company. And then the ranch went public and recorded some major records through the years.
Example?
9 Neil Young records, Bob Dylan, Marvin Gaye, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Grease soundtrack, so Hopelessly Devoted to You.
Wow.
Yeah, some really beautiful sounding stuff.
On your board?
On that board.
Wow.
It was also a popular place to record for the 1990s new metal movement. So it recorded the first, and these are big in that field, is like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Megadeth, Motley Crue, Slipknot, Sepultura, sort
If
of
that
those
board
things.
could speak.
Oh yeah, it's seen some stuff, but I got it as a fixer-upper because that thing's so out of my league. I'm so fortunate to have that, but I bought it as a dying seal and had to bring it back to life. And the guy who gets all the credit for that is Gary Bomber, our friend, who still to this day is working on it and keeping it up to shape.
No, I was just going to say, it probably needs constant maintenance.
Constant.
Yeah.
People don't realize you don't just buy something old and it's great. If it's electronics, it needs restoration, and if it's that complex, it needs a lot of restoration.
And you've also rescued some speakers too, haven't you?
Yeah, sold those and made a hefty profit.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Attaboy. All right, before we end this, how can people find your music?
Facebook, Marc Golde, MarcGolde. If there's a guy on the front that looks like the singer from ELO, that's me, and you found the right page.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us. By the way, we want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you to our sponsor, August Haven. August Haven has created this unique event, which will continue in person as usual once it's safe to do so again. I can't wait. Thanks to everybody at August Haven for their support of both the Avenue and the musicians that we feature in these broadcasts. That includes Marc Golde. August Haven is a supporting partner of the Avenue. And now, one more time, here's Marc Golde. Thank you, young man, for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Here's something more from Marc Golde.
I've heard it said that the devil lives in the notes of my songs, swims in my pool of ignorance, turning my rights into wrong. I don't feel possessed by a demon. I don't think that I'm evil and bad, but I'm not ashamed to be human. Although I'm not wealthy and I don't fit the master plan, get me away 'cause I don't wanna plan. Trying to reprogram my mind, get me away from what they've got to say. And I'm sick of them wasting my time. The righteous kind. If you think I just don't get it, well, you're absolutely right. There must be something I'm missing, and I swear I've really tried. I see them on street corners handing out books, repeating the same old lines, telling me things that I don't understand. They look pretty healthy, but something says this just ain't right. Get me away 'cause I don't wanna plan. They're trying to reprogram my mind. Get me away from what they've got to say. I'm sick of them wasting my time. The righteous kind. No, I'm not one for revenge. They'll do it to themselves in the end. difference of wrong and right. Well, you're more messed up than I've ever been. You look pretty healthy, but take a deeper look.